Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Polly.
Present.
Trustee Lappin.
Here.
Clerk Palovich here. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Here.
Trustee Kroll,
Here.
Trustee Reiner.
Here.
Supervisor Skibby.
Here. Are there any corrections? We have full attendance. Any additions, corrections, or substitutions to the agenda as presented? Yes, Laura?
Can I correct one of the attachment prices? Or do you want me to do that
think
at a
we-
different time, or don't you want to know about that right now?
Well,
I think that would be done when we
Yeah.
discuss
Okay,
it.
that's fine.
Conversation. Okay, barring any changes to the agenda as presented, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
so moved.
We have a motion on the table to adopt the agenda. Is there support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
You
Or
should do a voice vote.
voice,
for it.
yeah, sorry. All those in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Agenda has been adopted. First item and only item is the Alpena County Equalization Department Township Agreement for 2024. We have with us Equalization Department Director, Ted Summers as well, for any points of clarification. Given the time constraints, this was presented at our previous meeting. And so I guess, Laura, you had a lot of documentation. If you would like this to start the conversation, we
Okay.
can all just kind of get to it.
So attached is the agreement that's provided every year in May from the County Equalization Department. Nathan, you had reached out for clarification.
Yep.
Which is attached. I reached out to KCI to get a quote for. They're not preparing the roll, it would just be for the printing
Posted.
and the postage and the stuffing and that type of thing. And then the second price, this price is $5,200 just for the setup of the PDF and the printing and postage and mailing. And then the correction I wanted to provide is the one from Whitlock. We would not have time to do the top part of sending the BSNA data file because of the time constraint. So it would have to be the bottom half of the quote, which if we ever use them this time or in the future, we wouldn't have to have a if we wanted a special envelope printed, it would be the 1,508.46. But if we just use their envelope, which would be cheaper, it would be 1,365.96. But she quoted the postage wrong. She quoted it at 54 cents each, and it's really 64 cents each. So bottom line, it just as a comparison, if we went with the 1,365.96 plus the postage would be $6,012.36. Just as a comparison to the first one.
Yeah, and so really we're here today because the timeline is so constrained to actually fulfill getting this back into the county's hands. We don't really have too many options, and I would like this, the point of clarification is, and part of the equalization department does the printing, we do the postage and stuffing and postage in-house, correct?
We
No.
don't, no, we just,
The postage?
they,
Oh, we do the postage,
We only
but we
do the
don't stuff
postage.
the envelope.
they,
Okay,
plus we also would have to purchase. I mean, if we change something up down the road.
Yep.
We would have to purchase the envelopes ourselves if
Yep.
we didn't go through the county with the way.
So the county furnishes the paper for the printing and the envelope
Well, you can get
and stuff and stuffs.
Mhm.
stuffs.
Yeah, everything but the postage on.
so.
So calculating the roll.
Yeah, and so I think that there is some merit to how we so choose to move forward, maybe into next fiscal. But yes,
I just think with the time constraints this year that we need to go with the county because we don't have the time to do everything on our own this time.
I would concur.
I would think that next year when we're doing our budgeting, if we could have a cost from the county at that time So when we're budgeting, we could make a decision at that time where we would have the time.
And so,
Be prepared.
Ted, could you please take the podium? That way you're on the record. So, and obviously annually, we see this contract come before the board in May. When do you actually take it to the County Board of Commissioners to set forth parcel prices on your end, sir?
We haven't. We put a pause on that many years ago because when I took over in 2017, the agreement was to increase the price by 5 cents every year. At that point in time, we were a little on the high side, so I asked them to put a pause on it until we kind of leveled back out. Now we're a little bit on the low side as a comparison to other counties and what services that we provide. And I have been talking to the county administrator in the future about possibly increasing the price. There's no definite that we're going to do it, but it's a possibility in the future. If we were going to raise the price, we would have done it a couple of years ago. During COVID, our envelope prices doubled and we didn't pass that cost on to the townships. We had a real hard time even getting them and the price almost doubled. We didn't pass that on. We haven't increased our price since 2017. It's been $1.85 a parcel since 2017, probably earlier than that. So we stopped increasing the price by a nickel every year to kind of get us back in line with the other counties that were providing this service. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future because our prices are going up a little bit with envelopes and paper. But right now, if it does go up, it would be maybe a nickel, at that. So,
But to my point, we should actually, this is a conversation that we could actually have a finite number coming into our budget process, which would start, early spring, late, winter into February.
so this is just the contract. If
Yeah.
we do increase the price, you will be notified immediately of that. And when the contract does come in, it will have the adjusted price on that. I talked to the county administrator about it and I said, the townships have already prepared their budget. It wouldn't be fair to raise the price now. So if we do raise the price or talk about raising it, we would have to notify them so they can budget for it next year. So we have no intentions of raising it at this point in time, but it's possible in the future that could happen.
So we try to get our budget done by late February, March.
Right.
Early, March, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
we could have that number by then?
Yeah, and as you guys know, we have a new county administrator and I've already talked to him about this. As soon as he cools off with some of his stuff, we're gonna get together and have a discussion about this and see if it's something we want to do or not do. That would happen well before, and if we can't give you ample notice, then it just won't happen until the following year.
okay. Yes, Laura.
I just got a question and it might be a little bit off topic, but if you could get it, if people wanted them electronically, is that possible? And is it a cost saving?
Not right now, it's not. I think they're talking about it, and I really wish that they would. Because I think the software provides that service, but it's not written into the general property tax law. So we cannot provide it electronically. You have to mail a copy to each person. Now, you can double up the mailings if you want to, but you guys have way too many for that to be an option. Right now, we cannot send them electronically. I wish we could, because I think probably 50% of the people would do it. But until the law changes, mailing is the only option.
Is that on the horizon at all?
Not that I'm aware of. They're afraid of too many people changing address, that it's just. Not that I'm aware of. I wish it would.
Any other discussion?
I just wanted to point out for clarification, we don't pay this bill either until like January-ish
This is the
or this
agreement.
tax year.
We do the service and then we charge. We don't charge till after we're done doing the service for both summer and winter.
And if there's no more discussion, I'd make a motion to adjourn this to a specific date, our February regular meeting.
We have to approve
No,
this.
we have to approve this now
Oh,
for this
we
tax
approve
rule.
this.
That's the constraints that we
Okay,
find ourselves.
I'm
in
talking
right now.
about,
Yeah, I
as far
think
as any
this-
changes.
I think that there's an opportunity to have those conversations when we get back into budget sessions, but.
Okay, so my
for
motion is
this-
out of order at this.
Yeah, that's correct, sir.
I do have, I apologize that I didn't have this in front of me while we were discussing this. So the county overall cost is 13,000 some odd dollars. Right?
Yeah, but we don't know the
13,000.
exact cost that we have.
Roughly just 13.5.
Somewhere around 13,500. And so these outside vendors, am I looking at this wrong, or is there about half the price.
But the outside vendors they're not calculating the role. That's
Yeah.
the, if you want to explain that.
That's
part.
something we would have to
We would
do
there'd be
in-house.
two components to this, and then we can get into MCL, which I'm sure we will, but
Hmm.
that is fine. I would take on that inherent responsibility, even as archaic as that MCL is. That was really defined when there were, in terms of smaller rural communities, the metrics to having in-house assessors, in-house treasurers, a lot of, yeah, as we know within our own county, we're the only township that actually has full-time
Right.
staff. So it's kind of as archaic as that methodology is, just people operating out of their homes with like some other township clerks and treasurers are. So I think that's a conversation that we develop is, and that's where this kind of stemmed from is. We have staff, we have the capacity in-house to do some of those functions. These companies just do the mailing
Right.
component.
Okay.
And so that's where we look at what is our in-house postage cost, which is what, around
65 cents.
Yeah,
per-
but for our mailings in this process, for both, is nearly $9,000 just in
Yeah.
postage.
It's $4,646.40 like over 46,000, 4,600
So- little over
46, so over
Yeah,
9,200.
for summer and winter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
$9,200.
Just postage.
That's kind of where this, but the problem with even extending this conversation as we sit here today is we need to have this back and an agreement signed so that this process takes place for this year, tax roll in this fiscal. So
Yeah.
we can explore it and explore the opportunities because there is cost savings on those functions in terms of having the stuffing. Obviously, there's additional costs of the paper, the envelopes, those parameters.
Right.
But we also have the software now where it's importing, it's not just, and don't let me belittle it, it is a process. But it's one that I would belabor going into next fiscal.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I was looking at was what would be the cost of operating this internally? And
At that point, it would just be the cost of the envelopes, the paper and the mail.
whatever the amount of time the person takes to put that in.
The postage is gonna be the same either way.
Yeah, no
That's
matter
not gonna
what.
change.
The
Yep.
biggest thing
You can't do
is,
bulk mailing.
the biggest thing is preparing the roll
Yep.
and the balancing. And that's a huge process to make sure everything is correct. You know, with balancing this and that's a huge
So
responsibility.
what I think I'm.
But like the city does it themselves.
Yeah, so.
Anna
what I-
does it, so.
So I'm hearing that we're technically not ready for this right now. And we effectively have a year to figure out the process to determine whether or not it's cost effective for us to do this internally.
Right, and we should know by the time we're budgeting, so
Yep.
we know how
So
much to
6
budget.
months probably.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
That being,
Yeah.
and that,
And to answer your question, Steve, we do that part in our office. But we also calculate and prepare the tax roll for the township.
Right.
And, I brought this along just to give you an example. This is my checklist for this year of the things that we do for each of the townships. So it's a process. It's not a process that can't be done in-house, but it is a process. And we can get into this conversation later, but I would certainly make sure that you go through the process once or twice and make sure you're familiar with it. Not hard,
Yeah,
but there is a process that needs to be followed.
yeah, and I'm sure that there's gonna be
Yeah,
fly in the ointment somewhere along the line and that it does make sense to do a couple of ghost runs, if you will, and then do it.
yeah. So I apologize if there was some miscommunication on the timing. We've sent that contract out every year, the same year to all the townships since I've been in there. So if the timing doesn't work, somebody just needs to come and talk to me about it and we can get that rectified.
yeah, it's already on our docket. But that's, and henceforth the question is that the approval process from the Board of Commissioners?
Right.
But if that's not the process, it's just been a historic practice, then yeah, if the county commissioners do approve an uptick in cost,
Yep.
knowing that as I send out proposals for department heads and their budgets is usually corresponds with November timeframe. So that's when we can re-engage in this conversation. Obviously, between then and now, we can actually continue to explore our software, what that looks like to import, export. make sure that we're checking all the boxes. And then we also have the labor and the force to do the stuffing and the mailing. We have all those other parameters. It's just working through the logistics. But
So you need a motion right now to approve this contract.
Correct.
with the
Correct.
county. I make that motion.
we have a motion on the table by trustee Reiner to move forward with the contract with Alpena County Equalization.
I'll
It's
support.
been moved and supported. Further discussion. Is immediately following this, we're gonna smile and stand in front of a pumper tanker that we received yesterday and go from
No.
there. So seeing no other discussion, thank you very much, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
To-
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, roll call, please.
Clerk Flavich, yes. Treasurer Ellery Summers.
Yes.
Trustee Kroll,
Yes.
Trustee Reiner.
Yes.
Trustee Polly.
Yes.
Trustee Lappin.
Yes.
Supervisor Skibby.
Yes. Any further discussion for the good of the order? And well, let me stop myself. This is the second opportunity for public comment. If there's any public comment online or otherwise, please use the bottom taskbar under the ellipsis of more to raise your hand or send a message so that we can identify your name and hear your comment. Seeing no comment in person or online, any further discussion for the good of the order? As I formerly mentioned, we will be taking a 57-foot pace field trip here momentarily. And if there's no discussion for the good of the order, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion on the table and support by trustee Foley. All those in favor of further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose the same. Meeting adjourned at 1:16. Thank you very much.